Hi there, it's Nicole for Lawn Fawn, and today I have a happy Cinco de Mayo card showcasing lots of Lawn Fawn stamps and dies. I have combined a lot of different stamps and dies to create my card today. To start, I am going to stamp my cactus with a little Twisted Citron and Mowed Lawn Distress inks, kind of using the rock and roll technique. And I'm going to stamp these on some watercolor cardstock. So I'm going to ink it up with the lighter color first and then just roll that darker color onto the edges. You can see it does not look that great when I first stamp it. Distress inks tend to not stamp solid images very good. However, if you take a little bit of water and a paintbrush, you can blend that out and get a really lovely two-tone image just by spreading that ink around, smoothing it out with a damp paintbrush. This is not a wet paintbrush, it is just barely damp. And I'm just gonna paint over the whole image, smoothing out all of that ink. And I think the cactus looks great like this. Next, I'm gonna stamp the other cactus image from the Stuck On You stamp set. I'm gonna stamp this the exact same way. First, add the Twisted Citron Distress ink and then a little Mowed Lawn. Just roll that on the edges and then blend these two colors together, smoothing it out and creating a really pretty, lovely watercolored stamped image. I need a little additional green ink, so I'm just going to blot that on my acrylic block, pick that up with my paintbrush, and then paint it on over my image. Next, I'm going to stamp the little blooming flower there from my blooming cactus. Now, I stamped it right on the cactus. I wasn't thinking. Each of the images are actually individual images, so I'm going to have to die cut them separately. So I ended up having to stamp and watercolor both of those images again. However, I did it exactly like I just showed you there. Used a little Barn Door Distress ink. Then I have stamped the grass images from the Mom Plus Me stamp set. Instead of stamping them in the traditional green colors, I've used Scattered Straw and Gathered Twigs Distress inks to give some kind of more natural grass type look. So some brown kind of desert type grass. Again, I used the rock and roll technique, inked them up with the Scattered Straw Distress ink first, rolled on a little Gathered Twigs, and then painted over them to smooth it out and give it that lovely watercolored look. This is great for any of those solid images that you might have in your collection. I'm going to even use the little two blades of grass too to mix it up a little bit so that I have a couple of the bigger groupings and then one of the smaller ones. I'm going to stamp the cowboy hat with the Gathered Twigs Distress ink. This is an open image, so it's more for coloring, I guess is what I want to say. You wouldn't use a solid ink to stamp this. However, I want it to coordinate with the rest of my images on my card design, so I stamped it with the Gathered Twigs Distress ink, and I'm coloring it in with some Scattered Straw ink, as well as the Gathered Twigs for a no-line watercolored look. So I want to really make sure I blur out that line, blend it out so that it isn't so harsh and dark, using my distress inks as watercolors. Once the main portion of the hat is colored in, I'll color in the band of the hat with the Barn Door Distress ink. This is a cowboy hat, yes. I went through my entire collection of Lawn Fawn stamps and couldn't find anything else that I thought would work. So it's not a sombrero, but I thought it was close enough. It's cute. It really adds character to the finished card on that little cactus. There's that Barn Door ink. Just coloring that in. Once my cactus are completely dry, I'm going to take face images from the Sweet Smiles stamp set, the cute little mustache, and stamp that on one of the cactus or cacti. On the other one, I will stamp another image, kind of so I have a male and female. So I've got the little mustache guy, and then the other one has cute little eyelashes, and then it's going to have that blooming flower on its head, so I thought it kind of looked like a guy and a gal. I'm going to use the coordinating dies, tape those all in place, and then I will run everything through my Sizzix Big Shot die cutting machine. I'll pop these out. I will have to run this through again to die cut one more of the large groupings of grass. The Post-it tape works great to hold everything in place while you're die cutting. You don't have to worry about the dies shifting and maybe ruining what you've spent so much time coloring. Just grab all these cute little pieces. You can see the flower sitting on the one cactus, and then the little cowboy hat. On the hat, I am going to draw in some little white lines across the band using an opaque white gel pen. I did go over it a couple times to get the detail a little bit darker. Next, I thought I needed a little sunshine for my scene, so from the Hello Sunshine stamp set, I'm taking the sun image. Again, using the rock and roll technique, inking it up with mustard seed first, rolling on a little fossilized amber, stamping the image on watercolor cardstock, and then smoothing those inks out with a damp, not wet, just a damp paintbrush. Once those images or this image is completely painted in and dry, I will die cut it with the coordinating Hello Sunshine die. I'm going to die cut the ovals for the background of my scene. So from watercolor cardstock, I will cut 2 of the smallest size oval I'm using. From one of these, I'm going to die cut 2 borders using the Simple Stitched Hillside Borders dies. So I'll use the really sloping one and die cut one side of the oval. And then from the other side, I will die cut a second border using a different Simple Stitched Hillside border die. Just kind of position it there. The magnetic platform will hold it in place, and then I'll run it through. Go ahead and set that to the side for a second. I'll move all of my elements out of the way so that I can color in my background pieces. Since I'm doing watercolor for the images on my card, I wanted to kind of keep with that same theme for the rest of the background. So first I will color in the kind of sand looking borders with the scattered straw and gathered twigs distress ink. I already had those out on my table from coloring in some of the images, so I went ahead and just used those again. I'm applying the lighter ink first. Then I will adhere the gathered twigs very lightly, kind of sparingly, only along that top edge, blending the 2 colors together. Do the same thing for the second one. And these are just going to be nice borders along the bottom of my scene. Make sure I get the entire thing covered. I want it to kind of go from dark to light. Again, add that gathered twigs distress ink along the top edge. If I need to reblend, I can grab my lighter color and blend those 2 colors together. For the sky, I'm going to use Tumbled Glass and Salty Ocean Distress inks. I'm going to grab my Salty Ocean Distress ink first, and then I'll take Tumbled Glass and blend that out really well. I'm using a scrap piece of paper to keep my fingers out of the ink. Once the distress ink colors are completely blended, I'll spritz all 3 pieces with water from a distress sprayer. Let the water sit for maybe 15 to 25 seconds. I think that's all the longer I let it sit. And then I will blot it all dry with a paper towel, and it's going to leave a great distressed look on all 3 pieces. So when I pick up the paper towel, you can see those great little pieces where the water wicked away the ink. Next, I need some frames to frame up my scene and a banner for the greeting. So from some smooth white cardstock, I'll die cut a banner using one of the Everyday Sentiment banners. Then the stitched ovals, I'm going to nest 2 of them together to make frames and die cut 2 from the Lawn Fawn red cardstock and 5 from the Lawn Fawn black cardstock. I'm cutting multiples of my frames so that I can build those up and really frame up my Cinco de Mayo scene. So I'm using Post-it tape to hold those 2 ovals together to create my frames, popping them out and then die cutting the next one and the next one. For my banner, I did mask off the word happy from the Just For You stamp set and stamp that with the black licorice Lawn Fawn ink. Then I'm using the Clark's ABCs and the Jalapeno ink, Carrot ink, and Lobster ink to stamp my greeting. So I'm creating a custom greeting here that's going to read Happy Cinco de Mayo. Now you can see up in the top part of the screen where I did a banner that says Cinco de Mayo. I was thinking I was going to add the word happy somewhere else, and as I laid it all out and was looking at it, I realized I didn't really have anywhere else I wanted it to go. So I just stamped a new border. It only took a few minutes, so I just went ahead and did that. And the 3 different colors of ink just kind of coordinates with everything else going on in the card, and it's really bright and fun. These sentiment borders are just wonderful for being able to add your greetings to any type of greeting card. Whether they're custom greetings or just greetings that come in your Lawn Fawn stamp sets. Once that's done, I can start putting the whole thing together. I'm going to trim some of this pattern paper from Lawn Fawn, just about 1/4 of an inch on 2 sides so that it has a thin white border on my white card base. Attach that there, and then I will attach one of the black oval frames to my card. I'll go ahead and draw a adhesive line inside that and attach one of the red cardstock frames. And then I will put together my scene on that center oval. I'm using some glue dots to attach all of these small elements, building up the cute little scene. Trim off the excess sun that overhangs. Then I will add adhesive to the center and attach that right inside the center of my frames. And from there, I will build up the frames with an additional red frame and then 4 more of the black frames, one on top of another, to really add dimension. Once I have all of my frames in place, I will attach my greeting banner right below the cute little cactus, using some glue dots to attach it on either side of my frame. And that will finish up this really cute and fun Cinco de Mayo card. Thanks for joining me for this Cinco de Mayo card showcasing Lawn Fawn stamps and dies. The supplies I've used are listed and linked below the video on YouTube. Here are a couple more Lawn Fawn videos you might be interested in. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.